retirement age, which is around 65 years old, out of 100 people, 36 will be dead at 65 years old. So 36% of people will be dead, and then 50% of people will be living off the government, basically pension or family support. And then I can't remember the exact numbers, but there's only like one person out of 100 will be wealthy, and then there's a few other ones as well, right? So, but the key point there is that if you wait till you're 65 to retire, chances are you're not going to make it that long. You're probably going to die, or you're going to be living off the government or have family support. Welcome to the channel. Greetings from Koh Samui. I'm sitting over here at Crystal Bay Beach today at one of my favorite restaurants. This is called Dongtakian Resort, and it's just a beautiful view from here. Fantastic weather today. And I've been reading this book for a number of days now. It's called Retire Rich, Retire Young, right here. Retire Young, Retire Rich, sorry. And I'm learning a lot of valuable, teachable lessons from this book. Things that I'm mostly already doing, but also other things that I'm not doing yet, such as investing in stocks and investing into real estate. And most of what this book is about is leverage. So for me, like, I'm already generating passive income through social media and creating content, these sorts of things, including this YouTube video where you're watching this now. But in addition to that, it would also be, I think, wise to start investing into real estate as well, which is something that I'm not doing because I simply don't have the money to do it. But another thing that he talks about in this book is using other people's money to, get access to these assets that you can leverage that will just pay you every single year or every single month, right? It's essentially passive income. And also investing into stocks, which is something I've been telling myself to do for a long time. And most of my retired friends over here in Samui are investing into stocks and maybe some crypto as well. But for me, I always think of it as just being risky and sort of like a waste of money. Keep telling myself, oh yeah, I'll do that when I have the money, or oh no, it's too risky to invest into crypto, which I still believe to be true. I think crypto is incredibly risky. It's simply too volatile, and unless you got in the very, very early days of crypto, it's probably not going to be profitable. I think it's reached its almost peak level, but you never know, right? So there's no way to know for sure, and you have to be willing to take the risks. And that's the same case for anything really in life. If you really actually want to be successful, you have to be willing to take the risks. And this is one thing that I've gotten pretty good at over the years of being an entrepreneur, is just taking those risks. And the next one I want to take is actually going to China. So I'm planning a trip to China next month. I talked about it in my previous video, never been to China before. And I think it would really help just to kind of open my eyes to a different reality, which is another thing that he talks about, Robert Kiyosaki, in this book, is having different, basically people have different realities and they live within those realities. So if you think that investing is risky, or you'll invest when you have the money, and you just keep making all of these excuses, that's the reality you're living in, and you're not going to be able to see anything outside that reality. So in this particular case, he talks about his rich dad versus his poor dad. And his poor dad he's very well educated. He had a university degree, and I do as well. He was very smart, but he didn't actually take the risks required to become rich. So after a certain point, his rich dad just far surpassed him, like making millions of dollars per year by leveraging assets that are profitable over time, such as stocks, real estate. But I think one of the biggest cheat codes is something called geo arbitrage, which is essentially going somewhere with a lower cost of living, such as Thailand. And that way you don't have to constantly go through the motions or have multiple 9-to-5 jobs. It just frees up your time. And I would say time is the most valuable most valuable commodity anybody has, even more valuable than money, because you can always make more money, but you will never get your time back. And it's just a matter of actually choosing how to use your time, right? And using it wisely. So for me, that comes down to, look at where I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting on this beautiful beach over here at Crystal Bay Beach. One of my favorite places to come sometimes in the mornings. And yeah, I just decided why not make a YouTube video from here today. I've got beautiful weather, and I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the teachable lessons that I'm learning from this book. But it's one thing to just read a lot of books, but it's an entirely different thing to actually apply the lessons that you're learning in the books. So I personally never highlight books, but one of my good friends, Thomas, he's from Austria, and I actually met him right here at this place where I'm sitting now. That was a couple years ago, and he visits Samui every year, like around October, and this is one of his favorite authors to read, is Robert Kiyosaki. He does get a lot of criticism for being like a snake oil salesman and these sorts of things, and he's basically getting rich by writing books, but I don't see any issue with that. I don't see any problem with that, right? Because he's sharing the knowledge and the wisdom that he's learned over many, many years. So I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to, sell millions and millions of copies of books. And that's basically you just get royalties, which is another example of passive income, right? So if you have a book and it's getting lots and lots of sales, then you can just collect royalties on that every single month. I think they basically just send you checks in the mail. So maybe I should write a book one of these days. My fiance sometimes tells me I should write a book, but I actually have a few books which are already available for sale on this YouTube channel, and I basically promote them through my videos. But those were, just being perfectly honest, they were written with ChatGPT. I actually set up an automation that will create these books, which are hundreds of pages long, using AI. So if you do want to buy one, just know that it was written with AI, but there's still an incredible source of information on a couple, multiple different topics. To that point, I've been starting to use AI as a form of leverage as well to save time and money for my business, and now I'm teaching others how to do that as well. In my free school community, which I've mentioned in quite a few of my other videos, I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. But that's growing fast, and that will also be an asset that I can basically make profitable. It's already profitable. It's a free community, and then I have upsells inside there. So that's going to be another example of what I like to call a digital asset. So, anything from social media to paid communities to anything online basically can be an example of a digital asset, and that's something that you can leverage as well. And the really nice thing about having online businesses and making money through social media in the form of content is that it frees up your time, and it's essentially passive income, which is another thing he talks about a lot in the book. There's 3 examples of income. It's ordinary income, which is what the vast majority of people spend their entire lives doing, and that is working for someone else. So if you're an employee in a company, that's ordinary income, and it's also the highest taxed as well. So that's 50% tax, give or take. So you're basically working, and in exchange for money, and then 50% of that goes to the government in the form of taxes. So that's what he recommends not doing in the book. It is honestly just kind of a waste of time, and most of your money is going away in taxes every single year anyway. And then the second example is passive income. So that's anything that you can do that doesn't require a ton of work. It could be something that you can leverage, such as a book. So you're collecting royalties, and that's an example of passive income. You obviously have to put in the work in order to start collecting the passive income, but over time it can sort of have this snowball effect. So basically you're just making money and you don't have to do anything anymore. It's free and clear. And that's an example of 20% income, I believe. Or maybe it's zero. I think it's actually 0% tax on a lot of the passive income. Or they're basically just take the taxes out automatically every month, but you're not going to be paying nearly as much tax, chances are, on passive income. And then there's also portfolio income. That's the third income stream, and that's essentially investing into stocks or real estate. And I believe that one's taxed at 20%. Don't hold me to this. I can't remember exactly. Another interesting thing I learned in the book is, especially in a place like the US or Canada or, any number of Western countries with an incredibly high cost of living, chances are by the time you retire, let's say $100,000 a year in pensions, for example, that may not even be enough to survive wherever you're living. So I think it makes a lot more sense to come to a place with a much lower cost of living and honestly better quality of life, like Thailand. Just look at where I'm sitting right now. It's amazing. Where you can just enjoy the rest of your life. And that's what a lot more people are doing. They're moving to places like Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, with a lower cost of living. And it's just much more relaxed, carefree lifestyle. You don't necessarily have to work as hard for income, and you can just have an amazing life over here. So this is something I talk about in a lot of my videos. So if you want to schedule a consultation call with me anytime, I've got my website in the description below. You're welcome to do so. And I'm getting a lot of messages lately on WhatsApp from people that are just reaching out, mostly through my Facebook page. And they want to learn how to start generating some sort of income online, which is also an example of passive income. Just had a call with a guy yesterday in the US. He wants me to build him a website in WordPress. And I also got him onto school, so he's already launched his free community over there. And basically I'm going to build a website and then we can funnel people into the school community. And he's going to be selling ebooks online. So there's another example of passive income, something you can do from pretty much anywhere. So yeah, if you're looking to start generating some sort of income online, I do recommend school because it's probably, I would say, one of the quickest and easiest ways to start making some sort of income online. I would say the hardest part is getting to your first dollar online. And once you've hit $1, you can hit $100, then $1,000, then $10,000, then $100,000. It's just a matter of scaling it up over time, right? And there's many different ways that you can do that. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff, just drop a comment down below. Would love to hear from you. And with that being said, I think I'm going to get back to reading my book. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Signing off. Take care. Stay safe. Peace from Koh Samui.